Welcome to another episode of the video countries next to breaking after Russia. For more video like this, subscribe, like, and share our channel. Life Fact Daily. What if the countries we consider powerful and permanent today were gone tomorrow? Imagine opening a map and realizing that Spain no longer contains Catalonia, that Nigeria is no longer a single nation, or that India has broken into several states. Borders are never as permanent as they appear. In fact, the history of the world is a history of shifting lines, collapsing empires, and newly born states. Today, we take a deep dive into the most influential countries that could fracture in the future. And yes, this is going to be the most in-depth exploration yet. A massive 90,000 character journey into the fault lines of the modern world. Buckle up, because the map you know today might not last for long. This video is part of a mega series on countries at risk of breaking apart. In earlier versions, we looked at a broad range of nations, including the United States and Russia. But in this extended version, we'll narrow our focus to other influential powers, countries that are equally important on the global stage, yet often overlooked when we think about potential breakups. We're going to talk about Spain, the United Kingdom, Canada, China, India, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Pakistan, Brazil, Mexico, and more. These are the nations whose fragmentation would reshape not just their regions, but the entire world. 1. Spain, Catalonia, and the Basque struggle. Spain's unity has always been fragile. Catalonia, one of its richest and most dynamic regions, is also one of its most restless. With Barcelona at its heart, Catalonia has a distinct language, culture, and political identity. The 2017 referendum for independence, though deemed illegal by Madrid, was a clear signal that millions of Catalans do not see themselves as Spanish. Protests filled the streets, and while independence wasn't achieved, the movement is far from over. Economic tensions add fuel to the fire. Catalonia contributes more to Spain's economy than it receives, making many residents feel exploited. Meanwhile, the Basque Country continues to nurture nationalist sentiment. Though violent separatism has ended, the desire for independence lingers. If Spain enters another financial crisis, or if European integration falters, the country could find itself unable to hold together. 2. United Kingdom, Scotland, and Northern Ireland's dilemma. The UK's unity has been questioned for decades. Scotland's 2014 referendum may have failed, but the result, 45% in favor of independence, showed how deeply divided the country is. Since Brexit, the independence movement has grown stronger. Scotland overwhelmingly voted to remain in the EU, but was forced out due to the overall UK vote. This has led to a growing feeling that Scotland's future is brighter outside the Union. At the same time, Northern Ireland has been caught in post-Brexit tensions. The Good Friday Agreement brought peace, but new trade barriers between Northern Ireland and Britain have fueled talk of Irish reunification. If Scotland and Northern Ireland both leave, the very concept of a United Kingdom will collapse, leaving only England and Wales. 3. Canada, Quebec's cultural divide. Canada projects stability, but Quebec is its eternal question mark. Twice in 1980 and 1995, the province held referendums on independence. The second came down to less than a 2% margin, one of the closest calls in modern political history. Quebecois identity is defined by its French language and culture, which contrasts with the rest of English-speaking Canada. Though separatist movements have calmed in recent years, they are never far away. Economic downturns, cultural disputes, or tensions with the federal government could easily reignite the debate. A breakup of Canada would have dramatic consequences, not only economically, but symbolically. One of the world's most peaceful democracies torn apart by identity politics. 4. China, Xinjiang, Tibet, and the question of unity. China is one of the strongest centralized states in the world, yet it is also home to some of the most active separatist regions. In Tibet, annexed in the 1950s, cultural resistance has remained strong. The Tibetan identity, centered around the Dalai Lama, continues to push back against assimilation. In Xinjiang, the Uyghurs, a Turkic Muslim minority, have long sought independence. International attention on human rights issues in Xinjiang highlights how unstable the region really is beneath Beijing's tight grip. Hong Kong, though not an independence movement per se, has shown massive resistance to Beijing's rule. If China were ever to face an economic collapse, internal political crisis, or weakening of central authority, these regions would be the first to challenge its unity. 5. India, Kashmir, and regional autonomy. India is a mosaic of cultures, religions, and languages, making its unity both a strength and a constant challenge. The conflict over Kashmir remains one of the longest-running disputes in the world, with Pakistan also laying claim to the region. Kashmir has become a flashpoint for war and terrorism. Beyond Kashmir, India faces separatist pressures in the northeast, where groups in states like Nagaland and Manipur have long fought for autonomy. Even in the south, Tamil Nadu occasionally voices discontent with the central government. While India's strong democratic institutions have so far held the nation together, its sheer diversity makes the threat of fragmentation a constant shadow. 6. Nigeria, the giant of Africa on fragile foundations. Nigeria is Africa's most populous country and its largest economy, but it is also one of the most divided. The Biafra War of the 1960s, which killed over 3 million people, was an early sign of how fragile Nigerian unity can be. Today, the indigenous people of Biafra continue to push for independence in the southeast. In the north, Boko Haram and other extremist groups have destabilized the region, while in the oil-rich Niger Delta, militants demand greater control of resources. With over 250 ethnic groups and stark religious divides between Muslims in the north and Christians in the south, Nigeria's unity is under constant pressure. A breakup of Nigeria would send shockwaves across Africa and the world. 7. Ethiopia, ethnic federalism under siege. Ethiopia was once celebrated as a symbol of African independence, but today it faces existential threats from within. Its federal system grants significant autonomy to ethnic regions, but this has also empowered separatist ambitions. The civil war in Tigray showed just how fragile the system is. Oromia, Ethiopia's largest region, has also voiced discontent. If Ethiopia's government cannot balance competing interests, the country could splinter into multiple states, destabilizing the Horn of Africa and creating a humanitarian crisis. 8. Pakistan, Balochistan, and Pashtun nationalism. Pakistan's unity has been in question since its birth in 1947. The secession of East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, in 1971 is proof that the country is not immune to fragmentation. Today, Balochistan, Pakistan's largest province by area but poorest by development, continues to push for independence. Separatist insurgencies have flared up for decades. Pashtun nationalism, with ties to Afghanistan, adds another layer of complexity. If Pakistan faces prolonged political instability, its fragile federation could unravel, with regions breaking away. 9. Brazil, regional inequality and the South's aspirations. Brazil is South America's largest country, both in size and influence. Yet its deep regional inequality creates fertile ground for separatism. Movements like the South is my country argue that the prosperous southern states would be better off without the poorer North. While these movements remain fringe, they gain traction during times of political crisis, such as corruption scandals or economic recessions. If Brazil's federal system fails to manage these divides, separatism could grow stronger. 10. Mexico, violence and weak state authority. Mexico does not face classical separatist movements, but it does face a different kind of fragmentation. Powerful cartels control entire regions, sometimes functioning as de facto governments. In some states, local communities turn to armed militias rather than the federal government for protection. This erosion of central authority could, over time, create a patchwork Mexico where official borders exist on paper but not in reality. While outright secession seems unlikely, de facto fragmentation is already happening. 11. Indonesia, West Papua, and Aceh. Indonesia is an archipelago of over 17,000 islands and incredible diversity. Separatism has always been part of its story. Aceh fought a bloody insurgency before a peace agreement in 2005. West Papua, however, remains one of the most active hotspots, with armed separatists clashing against Indonesian forces. Calls for independence are strong, driven by cultural identity and resource wealth. If Jakarta weakens, these regions could push harder for independence. 12. Papua New Guinea. Bougainville's coming independence. Papua New Guinea is already on the verge of losing part of its territory. In 2019, Bougainville held a referendum where 98% voted for independence. While the final transition is still under negotiation, it seems inevitable that Bougainville will become the world's newest nation. This peaceful breakup demonstrates how even small island countries are not immune to fragmentation. 13. Climate change nations, Kiribati and Tuvalu. Finally, not all breakups are driven by politics or war. Some countries may disappear due to climate change. Low-lying island nations like Kiribati and Tuvalu face rising sea levels that threaten to submerge entire communities. In the coming decades, their populations may relocate to other countries, turning once sovereign nations into symbolic states without territory. This would be a new kind of fragmentation, not caused by internal divides, but by the forces of nature itself. From Spain's Catalonia to China's Tibet, from Nigeria's Biafra to Ethiopia's Tigray, the cracks in today's most influential nations reveal a sobering truth. No country is immune to fragmentation. Borders we think of as permanent are often fragile. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Life Facts Daily.